Hey everybody, it's Labor Day weekend, August 30th, 2025. This is Across the Pitch Union Post Game Show on AAT Sports Network. I see comments coming in. I just shared out the show on Twitter. I'm about to just go on Facebook, do the usual thing, sharing it out so people can hop on. But I see people joining the comments already. Later tonight, I believe after the press conference, Jillian Almany from the One Team We Agree On will be stopping in to say hello and share some thoughts from Bradley Carnell's press conference. We should also be hearing from Jose Nunez. He has no MLS responsibilities tonight, so I think he's joining us today to discuss what I listen. I know it's not the playoffs yet, but it certainly feels like the playoffs. A 1-0 victory at Cincinnati from the Philadelphia Union when they're down a man for what I felt like 35, 40 minutes almost. I think about 30 minutes. Absolutely thrilling match. I was texting our friend Joe Oblick. I said, I'm sweating right now. I'm hot. I'm getting hot thinking about that game. And I don't know how I'm going to go to sleep tonight after that performance. But let me get to the comments real quick. Joe says, I prefer to be a man down over a man up this year. Listen, Joe, it's funny that we are so bad up a man. And the way Cincinnati played tonight very much reminded me of how we perform when we're up a man. Also, big news here. We clinched the playoff berth tonight as well. Clinched the first seed on our way. We're getting there, Joe, and hopefully, as you mentioned here, we can get to the Supporter Shield as well and clinch that too. As of right now, we are 5 points ahead of the Eastern Conference second place, so we're at 57 points. Cincinnati has 52. In the Supporter Shield standings, we are 4 points ahead of San Diego. They play tomorrow night, I believe. Joe, I know you were texting me earlier about that. You can probably remind me when San Diego plays. I'll check that out in a couple seconds. McFly, my heart can't take games like this. Listen, McFly, I'm right there with you. I had to pour myself a drink after that performance because I need to calm my nerves a bit. Valerie, I love it. Good point here by Valerie, though. I hope Jacob's okay. For those of you who watched and didn't listen, at the very last second of the game, as the whistle blew, Jacob Glessens goes down, grabbed his left knee. Now, I'm not sure if it was from a collision. It looked like it was a collision for me. Just again watching on the Apple broadcast, they did pan to him for about a half second while they were, saying their goodbyes on air, and Paul Rushing was on top of him. Again, Jacob was grabbing towards his left knee. It might have been the hamstring or thigh area. I'm not sure. I texted the people who are going to the press conference. I said, please ask about Jacob, because that would be just such a unfortunate way to end what was really a fantastic night. And there's a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about from the red card from Acania, from Bruno Damiani, just absolutely muscling his way to goal. So much to talk about. Let's continue with the comments. Valerie says, strap in. Yeah, that's how I felt tonight. Lord of Olympia. Iloski is a baller. Wish we had another CB on the bench. Lord of Olympia, I mentioned this in my preview this afternoon. It gives me Ilsinho vibes by the way with the way he handles the ball. He can dribble. He can take a man one-on-one. He's creative. He finds a way to get really nice assists, nice passing. He reminds me of Ilsinho, and to compliment him with Quinn Sullivan is just a really dangerous pairing. So, yeah, he's a baller. This was a fantastic move by Ernst Tanner, and so far, I know it's just been a small handful of games, but so far it looks like Tanner absolutely hit on Olaski. Valerie, I can't wait to see Todd Father's goal breakdown to see exactly how Bruno headed that in. Yeah, Valerie, Todd Lewis from the Free Kick Pod usually goes on air every Sunday night live. He sometimes has Jose, sometimes he doesn't. He does a goal breakdown that he tries to do after every single uni match, and it's fantastic. He has like the little graphics showing the players moving. He does it step by step leading up to the goal. It's fantastic work by Todd Lewis. He's been a regular on our show periodically over the course of this season and last season. So, again, check out Todd's goal breakdown from tonight's match. I'm sure he puts that out tomorrow, if not the next day. Eric says, what a win. I've been looking for a top team performance like this. Yeah, absolutely agree there, Eric. Between the Phillies and Union, heart attack day. Kyle says, it's going to be hard to get to sleep tonight after that one. And Frank B says, Olaski plays extremely confident. Home run on the sign. And Frank, it's amazing to me that a team in the Supporter Shield race in San Diego just, I wouldn't say let him walk. I know it was quote-unquote mutual termination of his loan. But for him to leave San Diego after contributing, I think, over 10 goals. I can't remember right now how many goals he had before he came to the Union. But he was an impact player. He had, I think, a 4-goal game against Vancouver. He was an impact player for San Diego. So the fact that Tanner snatched him from San Diego, I think he got him from overseas because he already got his loan already finished up. You got to applaud Tanner for the job he's done this season. Michael says, I'm getting Alaska's aim on my blank 2025 jersey. I don't blame you at all, Michael. Mandy says, hi, Mike and chat. Are we doing it, boys? Is it happening this year? Very impressed by Milan. Listen, thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm sorry I missed last week's post-game show. I was at Asbury Park seeing Chevelle. Fantastic show, by the way. If you've never seen Chevelle live, go ahead and do it. This past Thursday, I saw System of a Down and Korn. So I had a really fun concert week this week. But I have to admit, I missed the post-game show. I missed talking with you all. I missed being on camera and just sharing my thoughts on Union. So let's just dive right into this. First and foremost, we always start our Union post-game shows reviewing the lineup. And I think if you're looking at who do you want in your starting 11 in a playoff game, and I guess this feels like a playoff game, I agree with Carnell 100% on this lineup. I think some of us can have disagreements on the right back's position, but we'll get to that in a second. Of course, Andre Blake is still nursing that hamstring injury, so Andrew Rick, who played great tonight, absolutely great tonight, performance from Andrew Rick, basically picked up where he left off when he was seeing regular time during Blake's previous absence. So Andrew Rick in net. Kai, Makanya, Glesnes, Nathan Harriel, right back. You have Danley and Lukic at the defensive mids. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, Alaska and Quinn Sullivan, and then Bruno Damiani and Ty Baribo up top. The bench tonight, you had Olivier, Alejandro, George Marks, Jesus Bueno, Kevin Sullivan, Indy, Michael, Frankie Westfield, and Jeremy Raffanella. Now, I personally, I think, have a soft spot for Frankie Westfield. I think he's grown on me as the years progressed. We saw when Nathan Harriel was out earlier in the season how well Frankie did, despite his age, in those big minutes early on. And I think if you listen to Bradley Carnell's pre-match press conference from this past Thursday, he was kind of asked, like, how important is this game? What's the emotions like, et cetera. And he really highlighted the early start of the season. He mentioned how going undefeated in May was huge. Beginning of the year, the way the Union did was big. And Frankie Westfield was very involved in that. So I can see the argument from Nate. He's great on set pieces. He's versatile. He can play center back. He's a fairly decent one-on-one defender. But Frankie, again, I love to see him start. But I think this starting 11 is really great. Now, another thing that intrigued me, and it's something that we really have not seen yet, was how is Indy Vasiliev going to get used? Now, I think the red card tonight kind of throws a wrench into exactly how Carnell wants to use Indy Vasiliev. But when I was thinking about, okay, this game, how are we going to approach it? I saw a world where you don't want to take off Olaski. So do you put Milan up top and take Bruno out? Do you then slot Indy Vasiliev in the 10 next to Quinn and let Olaski stay up in the forward position next to Ty? How exactly do we rotate this? Also, we have seen Indy Vasiliev play the defensive mid. Does Carnell get creative and take Lukic out and put Indy Vasiliev back there next to Danley? But at the same time, how can you take Lukic and Danley? How can you separate that duo that's been so good? It's a great problem to have. This is a fantastic problem to have, that you have a starting 11, top to bottom, that is basically untouchable. You cannot take these players out. It feels like you can't because of how well they're playing and how cohesive they are together. But again, the red card kind of changes the way Carnell approaches. Let me get to the comments before we continue with this conversation tonight. I'm going to go with, let's see, Pete. This Union team is so easy to love. Quality, tough players all over the field. Pete, I think that's spot on. There are some teams that you just fall in love with. When the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, I love the Eagles, love the 2017 squad. But I think for me personally, I actually enjoy the Super Bowl this past year more. And I think it goes right to these players. I don't know. I just felt more of a connection with the players that we had in this current roster of the Eagles. And that's how I feel with the Union. Don't get me wrong. I loved the 2022 Union squad. I really did. Even the Supporters Shield team. Love them. Fontana, Ilsinho, you had Ray Gaddis was still on there. Sergio Santos. So many great players you fall in love with. But I think, Pete, you nailed it right here. This team is so easy to love. And it's clear that they all really enjoy playing with each other as well. So it's just a great combination. And I think for Tanner to find a player like Iloski that fits in well and he seems to fit the culture, And even if you want to go to George Marks, the backup goalkeeper that they just brought in to replace Pierce Holbrook, and hopefully he's doing okay in his recovery. The first thing that Bradley Carnell said in his press conference on Thursday was he's a great character in the locker room. Great character from this young man. So, Pete, easy players love. Absolutely agree. Michael says here, not only are we the top of the East, we beat second place team down a player for most of the half. That is a pretty resounding message to send to the league. Definitely, Mike. I think the 4-0 win against Chicago, great, right? You love a good ass kicking, belt to ass, right? You love to see them dominate someone like that. But when it's a playoff atmosphere and you really got to dig deep, I mean, this, if you're looking at how a team can test themselves for the playoffs, this is a fantastic test for the Philadelphia Union with only 5 MLS matches to go, a supporter shield race absolutely in our control, an Open Cup semifinal on September 16th. And then, as Joe mentioned earlier, we clinched a playoff spot. This is a great way for us to prepare for the playoffs. So, yeah, Mike, I think that's a great point. It's a resounding message to this league that we can win in different ways. Cole joins us tonight. Nate was amazing tonight. Yeah, I think everybody played fantastic. They really did. Kai Wagner in particular. Right? On FOTMob, he was listed as a man of the match, but I think in that second half alone, Kai Wagner was fantastic defensively. Really stepped up when we needed him. Miazga, whatever he pronounced his last name, I always forget. Try to sell a flop very late off Kai's shove in the box. But you know what? I'll let Kai slide on that one. He was really everywhere tonight. Didn't do anything dumb. Just a really solid performance from Wagner when we needed him most. Mandy says, I'm a big Frankie fan, has some maturity, things that will come in time, but would have played fine for him to swing on Miazga. Absolutely. Joe says, tonight's playoff clinching night. Philly has clinched a playoff berth 7 out of 8 seasons. Nate was great. I can love all 3 of our right backs, but Nate is so versatile. His CB play is solid. Yeah, and listen, especially on set pieces, Pete, defending it and attacking. Nathan Ariel, as they used to call him before, is great in that role. Mandy says, I want to see Indy and Milan together. Yeah, I feel like it's been so obvious to put Milan and Quinn together, but Quinn's going to need some rest. You can't run him into the ground, especially with how important he's been. Yeah, I'd love to see Indy and Milan together. Indy, of course, has that high-powered engine, and Milan just seems to be a massive difference maker for this team. Sexy Hoagie joins us. 10 players, 3 points, dupe. It didn't even feel like we had 10 players, Hoagie. It really didn't. I honestly, at some parts, I'm like, are the Union up a man or down a man? I can't tell because they were just doing a fantastic job. Lord of Olympia, backline had 5 cards. We're going to segue into that point there because I know we're kind of going through the comments, shooting the shit with everybody. I love that. There is a very important detail to discuss. Oh, actually, Todd Lewis just texted me. Carnell said that Glessens was dancing in the locker room, not sure of the injury. So there you go, from Todd Lewis, directly from Carnell. Apparently, Jacob Glessens is having a grand old time in the locker room. So if he is hurt, it's nothing too serious at all. Let me see here. Mandy says, I do wish we still had Jose Martinez. He'd be having a field day with some of our newer guys. Yeah, it's great to see Jose doing well at Corinthians, but I miss Brujo, of course. Couple more comments coming up. I'm going to throw them up on the screen as best I can. You guys are doing a great job here helping me out. Elijah, this team is different this year. 1,000% agree. And I think everybody who's watching the Union as close as we all are, agree. Brick Wall Rick, Andrew Brick. I love these nicknames coming on. Mike says, so many cars. Let's get to the match. Oh, C414R says, excellent news regarding Glessens. Absolutely agree. I was worried about Jacob, so we're good. Everything looks okay. So let me get to my notes real quick as we discuss tonight's match. The first half was chaotic. You had a lot of end-to-end movement from these two teams. I thought that Cincinnati had a better couple of minutes between the 5th and 15th minute. They were like a good stretch of 10 to 15 minutes, and they really were attacking, and they really probably should have grabbed the goal. But then the Union just seemed to turn on. And Joe, you and I were texting throughout the entire match, and it just seemed like Cincinnati was a little bit off with their passing. And I don't know if it was because Cincinnati may have been not as confident in their passing. I don't know if it was because of the intensity of the environment that maybe got to their heads. But it felt like every time Cincinnati had a pass that was a little bit off, there was a Union player on the other end of that, and they forced a turnover. And you saw Ty Brebo miss a goal pretty close in that. Todd Lewis joins us. Hey, Todd. Listen, I was just diving into the emotion of this match. The comments are literally flooding in. I can't even keep up, Todd. I really can't. For people who are, I can't get your comment up. I apologize, but this is a fantastic turnout. I appreciate it. We were just starting, Todd, the first half discussing it, and what I was alluding to was, I thought the Union press in that first half really set the tone. It forced a lot of turnovers, and to me, maybe you disagree or agree. I thought Cincinnati was pretty sloppy on their passes.
Yeah, I think the Union's pass played a big played a big factor into this game, and look no further than how the Union scored the only goal in the night. It's a goal kick from Celentano, plays out of the back to Miazga. Miazga gives the ball away sloppily, and then the Union just pounced on it. And we saw multiple times like that tonight where the Union would turn Cincinnati over. I mean, look at the chance that Ty Brebo had in the 29th minute. Buka turns the ball over in his defensive half. Quinn Sullivan plays the ball out wide to Nathan Harriel. Takes a little bit of a deflection, but Ty Baribo's got to put that one in the back of the net. He tries the first time finish and unable to find the back of the net. I thought that was a big moment there. You look at the chance where the Union steal the ball off of Cincinnati towards the end of the game where Nathan Harriel plays the long ball over the top to Mikal Ua. It's a 2v2 situation. I think Ua probably waited a little bit too long to play that ball into Alaski, who eventually was unable to hit the target. And Bradley Cornell talked about it after the game that he believes that the Union should have had multiple goals in this game. Yeah. I haven't looked at the comments yet, but I think people in the comment section would agree with that. I think Jillian and yourself, Mike, would also agree with that. This is a performance from a very, very strong Union team. They earned their 7th road win of the season. They go into Cincinnati, a place that they haven't won since 2021. And so
it's been a while.
To see the Union do the league double over Cincinnati, very impressive stuff. And I get it, right? Coming into this game, Cincinnati had lost 3 straight games at TQL Stadium, now make it a 4th. But this is a team. We saw them win the Supporter Shield in 2023. We've seen the Union have issues going into TQL Stadium. We can all remember it was always the teacher versus the apprentice between Jim Curtin and Pat Noonan. And in 2 games this season, Bradley Cornell seems like, hey, look, I have Pat Noonan's number. I know how to defeat Cincinnati. And this was a big, big, big statement win for the Union tonight.
Absolutely. Jillian Almany joins us as well. Listen, Jillian, the comments have been great. Todd's joined us just a few seconds before you hopped on. So just give me your emotions from tonight's match. It's one that I think all of us will remember once the season's over.
Yeah, like my heart rate's still coming down. I think that was gutsy. Like I couldn't breathe at the end. It was just like watching, like, like I had to, now I'm getting something celebratory here because like just need to bring down. No, in all seriousness though, like yeah, just sweating that out at the end. I was, Kyle's out in Vegas right now. He's at the Las Vegas Lights game versus Lexington. So awesome. He's out there with CJ Olney, Corey Burke. We'll have some stories to tell about that, but that's for another time. But as you know, yeah, like I'm like, Kyle, it's like that Jurassic Park meme, hold on to your butts. I'm like,
yep.
Kyle, are you watching this? He's like, oh, I'm not able to, watch all of it really. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sweating this out. And yeah, I see Mandy come. Yeah, the Bimbo snacks. Yeah, this would be a game to enjoy some Bimbo snacks after. But
absolutely,
that's the.
I love our good pal Vince joins us. Says, "Sorry I'm late, fellas. I just downed and spiked a 2-liter of Coke Zero, screaming around my yard." So Vince is hyped up tonight. I love that. Frank mentions the defensive pressure continue when a man down. They were determined to make Cincy feel uncomfortable. I mean, listen, we're going back to this press, and I think about, or maybe in a general sense, when you think of a press, you think of just approaching the ball, attacking the ball with maybe one player. But it's so much more than that. It's so much more complicated than that. This team presses as a unit. They move as a unit. Even if somebody's attacking the ball, there's some other player moving into the spaces to make sure that they can keep the ball as far away from Andrew Rick and company as possible. And you saw multiple times that the press forced a turnover and they attacked. And we saw the Quinn Sullivan cross that like hit the crossbar. There were so many chances that Uni missed on. And I think, Todd, to your point, they probably should have gotten one in the first half for sure. I thought Danley at the very end might have had one on that counter in the last minute, but the defense as a whole looks great. And honestly, I think one thing we haven't talked about at all, Todd, is how well conditioned this team is. For them to press the way they did, no one seems to be talking about. But these athletes on the field are in such great shape. I mean, do you agree? This feels like the most athletic team that we've seen in quite some time for the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah, they're definitely fit. There's no doubt about that. And I saw a comment down here. Who said? I think maybe it was Janice. She said, "We finally have depth on our bench." Yeah. And notice when you have Indiana Vasilev come off the bench, you have Mikhail Uwa come off the bench, which I could have done without. Honestly, I think that Bruno Damiani is a better hold-up striker, but yeah, you did have the pace of Mikhail Uwa when Nathan Harrier plays that ball over the top and then Mikhail runs onto it. But the players come off the bench. Jeremy Raffanello, he does a job.
Yeah.
You look at Indiana Vasilev, Frankie Westfield, who I thought had a really big game too, because the back line in general, 11 goals conceded this season on the road, the fewest in MLS. That's insane. Incredible. That is insane. You lose Makanya, right? And so we all knew that means you're going to put Nathan Harrier in the center of the field, and then you're going to bring Frankie Westfield out on the right back section. But the way that this team locked in defensively, super incredible to see that. But to Janice's point, to your point, Mike, about this team being super fit, when you see players come off the bench, it really doesn't seem like you have a drop in quality.
Right.
So I think that's a big part of this team being fit. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I do feel like last year the team was lacking a little bit of fitness. And I felt like there was games last year where the Union were just getting completely outrun off the field. It hasn't really happened that much this season. And I think that's a testament to Bradley Cornell and this coaching staff for really setting the tone in preseason, right? None of us forgot that they went out to Spain and then they go down to Florida for the preseason. They bought into how Bradley Cornell wanted to play. And it starts with fitness-wise. And there was the same thing on Jim Curtin, right? The press starts with the strikers, and then everybody else follows. The same thing happens with Bradley Cornell's style of play, but like you said, Mike, they press as a team, and a big part of that is the fitness. And yes, one person may miss a tackle, but then the next guy is right there to close you down. And when the press is working as well as it is tonight, this is a team that's going to be very, very, very difficult to play against defensively.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I think one of you mentioned Makanya's name there, and we can kind of discuss because I think when did that first yellow card from Makanya happen? It was pretty early on, wasn't it? In the first 20 minutes or so, Makanya got that yellow.
Yeah. I'll try to pull it up here.
So
yellow. I mean, both yellows were dumb.
So the refereeing tonight was very inconsistent. Jose joins us. Actually, Jose, I'll go to you first before I shoot at Jillian. So for me, in my opinion, the referee set the tone a bit too harshly to start. The yellows that were given to Makanya, I think it was Marcus, the other player that he got the yellow card, very soft yellows. I think Makanya was kind of dumb for doing the shoulder into the chest. I just thought it needed a talking to, but you see the aftermath of giving those soft yellows after the fact. I think Marcus probably should have gotten a yellow card right before the end of the first half when he takes out Kai, but he doesn't. So, Jose, your thoughts on Makanya in getting that yellow and just how the referee approached this match?
Let me start off by saying, boys and gal, what a belter of a fucking match that was, dude. What a belter of a match that was, right? Incredible game all around. I absolutely enjoyed and loved watching that game. If you didn't enjoy that game, I think you're a bit of a sick person to not enjoy that type of physical and back and forth. And I don't know, like Todd, Jillian, correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like the Union were going downhill most of the game up until the red card, right? Like it felt like very Union heavy, at least in my eyes from what I saw. Maybe metrics say something different. I don't know. But you're right, Mike. Like that red card, that double yellow. What a bummer for what could have been like a I don't know. It's weird to say like a signature performance. Right now we're going like deeper into the signature X. But like if Olwethu would have finished this game and gotten this win and played this well against Brenner, Evander, Kevin Denke, Orejano, and all these other guys who eventually made their way to the field, like, man, what a signature victory it would have been for him. What a signature performance it could have been. But unfortunately, like, two really silly yellow cards. And, you know, your question, Mike, like, did the referee lose a handle of this game? Maybe, perhaps. But, like, goodness, like, I said this on a different group chat, but, like, I don't think at any point that second yellow card should have happened just because, like, and not because of the referee, Mike, but rather because it was Evander, right, Todd, who was at the possession. Okay. I don't think in any world Evander's turning around Macania facing the sideline, right? Like, I think that's very much like a dumb, silly foul by Olwethu, who needs to maybe realize tactically where he is on the field, who he's going up against. And the reality is that physically you have this guy. There's no need to dive into that ball. Just play him into the sideline, let him get a throw in. But then again, I'm just a schmuck with a beer in front of me talking about soccer, not a professional soccer.
And
so I recognize that.
And it's unfortunate it comes after Makani turns the ball over. So maybe he's just trying to overcompensate. And let me try to get this ball back. But you're right. I mean, it's not a place where you have to touch the player at all. No. Actually, a question for either of you three. Makani will miss now what? 2 matches or just one? Because he was on accumulation warning too.
I don't know how that works. Somebody corrected me. I could have sworn it was 1, but the reality is that, like, at the moment of the game when someone replied back of like, no, it's actually 2, and Jonathan Tannenwald said X or whatever, like, okay, if it's 2, cool. Like, I don't care. Right now I'm focusing on this fucking game in front of me, right? I'm locked in. Like, I'm not thinking about the next 2 games. I'm thinking about beating Cincinnati and finally getting one on them at their home. So, like,
yeah.
The Union will figure out. I think more than anything, especially with these substitutions, like, it shows the amount of depth that this team has to bring in like the Raffanellos of the world to come and close out a game. Like, when that happened, my brain was fried. I was like, what is this? Like, what are we doing? What is this club doing?
But this is what we wanted. This is, at least me personally, this is what I would have preferred to see from Carnell against the Red Bulls. Having Raffanello play some minutes rather than Chris Donovan. So I'm glad we got to see some more because, in my opinion, Jeremy hasn't been bad this year. I don't think he's been great, but he hasn't been bad in any stretch that I can remember. So I'm glad that he came in a very pivotal spot in this match and closed the game out.
But he's played fewer than 200 minutes, right? That's where my hesitance came in, right? Like,
sure.
It's like you're putting in a guy who's played fewer than, and maybe 200's generous. I don't know if somebody has the data on him in front of them, but like I can't think he's played more than 150 minutes this year.
I'm gonna try to look it up. Jillian, listen, and Kanye, I know that's your boy, you and Kyle. That you've seen him, playing since 2 years now with Union 2 and all that stuff. I love him. I love his intensity, but the immaturity that you kind of see from him sometimes can be difficult. What were your thoughts on the fouls?
Okay, so yeah, Makanya, one of the nicest people you'll meet, first of all. But like, it's frustrating because he has moments of brilliance. He's had overwhelmingly more brilliance this season and so much growth, than the negatives. But when he has blunders, they are big blunders that he's still got to learn from. I mean, we look back at, we've talked about this before, the red card that he got in the Next Pro Cup last year, for instance. He's made some blunders this season, just some costly things here and there. And he's got to clean that up because he has been so tremendous and he's such a missing piece when he's not there. So, I mean, he's got to learn. He's still so young. So I think, he just cleans up those things. I mean, you hope to see him get called to the South African national team. I think he deserves that. But luckily they pulled it through. But, he's still got to work on that little bit of maturity, that little bit of, the reaction. But he's getting there.
Yeah, Derek mentions a point here. I'm still upset about playing center back by committee. Do you think we might steal a center back for Glavinovic within the league? Todd, I mean, I don't know if you have the same concern, but the center back depth is probably the thing that I worry about the most. Consider now you have Makanya gone for the next match or two. Where's your feelings on the center back depth now that we know for sure Glavinovic is definitely not coming back?
Yeah, I said it recently on a Cincinnati podcast that I was on during the week where, yeah, it would have been nice to see the Union go out and get a center back, and just wasn't meant to be. And it's unfortunate. And you never want to see the Union just go out and panic buy. And I believe Bradley Cornell used a term similar in his midweek press conference that the Union weren't going to go out and buy just for the sake of buying. It had to be the right player at the right price. And if that player wasn't available, then I don't want to see the Union go out there and just waste money, because we saw the same thing last year, right? That Nathan Harriel's proven that he can play center back. Played center back again tonight after Makanya goes out. But for me, the biggest concern is you're one injury away to Jacob Glesnes or Alouette Makanya. And let's see what happens with Jacob Glesnes. I mean, we saw him at the end of the game down on the field. Bradley Cornell said after the game that there is no injury update. He's with the doctors right now, but he was dancing in the locker room. So deal with that as you will. But yeah, it would have been nice to see the Union come out here and get a center back. But the fact of the matter is, like, the window's closed and everything, and the Union just going to ride with what they have. Now, the one thing I would push out or push back on is Jose made the comment earlier where he thought that the Union, correct me if I'm wrong, you said they were going downhill, you thought, before the yellow card, Jose?
Meaning, what I meant by that was it was all downhill. It wasn't pressure. It felt pretty easy up until the red card. And sure, like specific moments where Cincinnati got close, but I felt like it was maybe cruise control was the better term.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati were building pressure, but it was nothing unsustainable, I would say. I mean, Bradley Cornell, I mentioned it prior to the yellow card that the Union had outshot Cincinnati more. I believe the total was 11 shots for the Union to Cincinnati's 5. And I think the Union were just really locked in defensively. And Makanya, I even think that he was playing good prior to the yellow card. It's a dumb point. You're correct, Jose. I mean, you have a player that's facing the sideline. You know this growing up playing rec soccer. Keep them. There's no need to foul. If he's taking himself out of the play, just keep him contained out there. He's not going to beat you on the dribble. He's not going to do something crazy. If he is, you have enough cover. Like there's just no reason why you're going to foul like that.
He's just going to do a negative pass, and if that, fantastic. Let him rotate the ball and take your shape again. Yeah, it's such 101 soccer, Todd. It's bang on.
It's such a bonehead play, and yes, I saw Vince talk about flashbacks to the MLS Next Pro Cup final as last year, and he's still a young center back, right? I mean, it's just little moments like this that I have no issues, or I have no doubt that he'll correct those issues. Yes, it's a dumb mistake, and fortunately for him, it did not cost his team. But I think Makanya had a pretty solid night overall prior to the yellow card. It's just little moments like that where, to your point, Mike, tries to dribble past a player and then he gives the ball away carelessly to Buka, I believe it was, and then the ball gets played into Evander. But yeah, I think Makanya was fine overall, besides the stupid second yellow card. And again, you know, I'm sure that's something that his teammates, his coaches aren't going to harp on too much. He knows that he made a mistake there, and I'm sure he feels maybe the best out of everybody in that locker room. Like, okay, look, I didn't cost my team. We got all 3 points, and this is a huge win. And now I'll miss a game or two, and we'll go from there.
Philly Rover says maybe we'll get a free agent center back from Kazakhstan.
Can I comment on that? Can I comment on that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not here to break any news or anything, but the Union were hard at looking at a center back, like very, very hard during this window, like unbelievably hard. And it just didn't happen. So it's not for the lack of trying, though. I think what this fan base is forgetting is that they got the striker with the best per 90 goal scoring in the league prior to him departing back to where was he? Sweden or Norway? Is that where he was for a little bit before?
I think it was
Pilaski?
I think it was the Danish league, wasn't it?
Whatever.
Danish
it was
league.
Denmark. Yeah. So like a better per 90 than Messi for the games that he played with San Diego. So like it's or wherever. Thank you, Val. Wherever it was, Denmark, Norway, like. Fantastic. Like, you can't underestimate how much better this team looks. And maybe it's like, maybe this is a Frankie Westfield like moment in a way where like does Milan take over? Like
Yeah.
the spot injury wise over names for jumping out of my head right now. Bradley's boy, Jesus.
Vasilev. Indy.
Thank you, Vasilev. Maybe he like loses his spot to Milan, and like I think Milan looks far more creative.
He should.
Okay, far more creative. I mean, Jesus, what was that one shot at the top of the 18? And by the way, no striker, not Baribo, not Damiani, nobody in that striking core should be putting their arms up when Milan takes a shot, because whenever he takes a fucking shot, you should be okay with it. That dude has earned the right to take a shot whenever the fuck he wants. I
They're
lost
always
it
on
when I saw
target.
some arms go up.
Always on target.
Always. Even the one I was referring to was the second half, top of the 18. He kind of cuts in, and like it feels like it's slow motion, but I'm guessing like when you're on the field, it feels like a snap of the finger. He just whips it with his right foot and makes Salentano almost like have to make a save. And I'm like,
yeah.
how? Like this is such incredible talent. So again, like, yeah, thank you, Philly Rovers. I'm on the payroll. I'm on the freaking payroll, like, according to Philly Rover. But no, like that signing alone is like, again, MLS.com, my side gig employers. Like when I saw the grades for the transfer window, I was like, really? That's all Philadelphia got? Like, like that's incredible that they got that guy of all people.
Absolutely. One last thing on McConaughey before we shift to the stats and the goal as well. There was I forget 1 minute. There was a cross into the box, and McConaughey just had Evander right on his heels, and he just so calmly clears it out. Like that's what I love about him at times, is how easy he makes it look, even when it's extremely difficult. But on tonight's I guess stat sheet, we had 14 total shots from Philadelphia. They had 42% possession, 4 shots on target. Cincinnati had 12 total shots with 3 shots on target. Let's see, corner kicks 7 for Cincy, 4 from the Union tonight. But the goal that we saw from Bruno Damiani, Lukic finds Elaski in the box pretty nicely. But then you see how it was a chip pass from Milan, but it reminded me of the pass that we saw from Ua against Miami to Ty Baribo. It kind of chipped over the defenders. But Jillian, I mean, the lead up and then the goal from Bruno Damiani. What is your reaction when you see how hard he fought for that header?
Oh, that was such a long time coming. He needed that, first of all, so much. But what a class finish. I mean, just the build up. It's funny because that goal happened like I had gone upstairs for a second. I come down, and just as I'm coming down, I see that goal happen. I'm like, what? But yeah, like, I mean, that was incredible. And like I said, like Bruno needed that so much. But Milan Elaski has been a revelation. Like he's been money like every time.
I can't remember a player who stepped onto the field and made an immediate impact like he has. I guess Lukic to start the year, probably. That to me is
I'd
the
say.
first thing that comes to mind, right? I mean, this year, I'm talking about past years. I can't think of it.
Danley.
Yeah,
Danley too. Yeah.
But even Danley took some warming up. I mean, Milan stepped on and just picked up where he left off, basically, before he got sent back to Denmark or wherever the hell he was. Todd, though, the goal that we saw from Bruno, I know you had kind of hinted earlier that you weren't really pleased with Ua coming on for Damiani, but what was your thoughts on that goal and his performance tonight?
It was a good goal.
Just short and sweet. Jose, anything to add to that response?
All right, I'm gonna use my 15 minutes here, right? I'm the
This is
Damiani
your boy.
stan,
I know. I'm gonna
okay?
let you take it here. I got you.
I'm the Damiani stan. No, I honestly, it was typing. I was like, how do you even describe this goal in like, a short sentence? It's like pure effort, like literal effort in my opinion, right? He fights to get in front of him, doesn't quite get in front of him, but still contorts his body in such a way that like gets the header and the angle right. And like I feel that, sure, with Damian, I want to score more. Like, absolutely, that's without a question. But I bet you that even in practice, and I would think that even in practice, and from what we hear in press conferences, and what I hear in the background, and hear from others across the league, et cetera, is that like the team is just thrilled with how he's performing despite not scoring. Like, sure, they want him to score more, absolutely, but what he's doing off the ball, which Bradley continues to reiterate to people on press conferences and podcasts, etc., is invaluable. The way he presses, the way that he just makes a nuisance out of himself. He, statistically speaking, a few more goals, and it doesn't even have to be Sam Sturridge like or Ty Baribo or even Messi like in terms of goal amounts. Just a few more goals, and this guy is top of the league when you look at the holistic amount of effort and metrics in terms of defensive, passing, pressure, expected assists, expected goals, etc. And Todd, you and I have talked about it enough on the Free Kick Pod, but like it seems like sometimes he's faced goalkeepers at their prime suddenly where he has an incredible shot and Brad Guzan's making a fucking save from 5-6 years ago suddenly, and then Sean Johnson with Toronto saving a scissors kick of his out in Toronto as well. So like, you know, those are two specific goals that come to mind. We're like, okay, then you suddenly had two goals and this guy's that much better in terms of any type of race or metric. So I'm happy for him. I hope that this is the runway that he needs to get going towards the tail end of the season, but I'm totally fine if he continues to do what he's doing and this team continues to win. I think that's what people are forgetting. If the team continues to win, everything he's doing is absolutely fine as long as the team continues to win. That's all that matters.
And I have to admit, I mean, Bruno gets beat up out there. I think tonight, how many times did he get knocked down the first half? Todd, you're shaking your head. Like, it feels like he's getting assaulted every single game.
It's every game.
It's
every game. Was fouled 5 times tonight. It's crazy. He's got to be. I'll look it up here in a second, but he's got to be the player that draws the most fouls. I mean, it's kind of like Julian Kranza a couple years ago with the Union, where Kranza was the player that was fouling the most because of how much he's pressing, but then he was also drawing a ton of fouls, and you see some of that in Bruno Damiani, and of course Damiani and Kranza are totally different players, totally different play styles and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, I think to Jose's point, it's like, you know, you hope that this is what can draw Bruno Damiani with 5 games remaining into the playoffs. But my question or my comment, I would say to the chat and to you guys, I think every single person in the comment would sign up if Bruno Damiani just shows up for big games. This was a huge game tonight, a playoff-like atmosphere. All of us would agree and say that this is a playoff-esque game. And if Bruno Damiani can show up with a goal in moments like that, then you're not going to hear people complain about him not scoring goals, because if he scores goals in the big minutes, then you got your money's worth, because that's why you go out and spend $3.8 million for moments like that, game-winning goals like that. And yes, he could have had one against New York Red Bulls. I realized that a couple weeks ago where his penalty kick gets saved. But this game, something that came from nothing too. Let's not forget, right? It's a mistake by Cincinnati playing out of the back. Jacob Glesnes reacts to it, and I've talked about it on my show where when you get to the playoffs, you're not going to have too many chances. And I think I actually talked about this after the Red Bull game, where you got to bury your chances. Come playoff time, there's not going to be too many mistakes. Tonight, the Union bury Cincinnati's mistakes, and it's a brilliant header from Bruno Damiani. It's a big moment, and hopefully he can continue to show up in big moments throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Todd, you mentioned the comments. The comments have been great tonight. I'm trying to keep up. I know somebody earlier mentioned Andrew Rick. We're going to get to him in a couple minutes. Mandy says here, I like playing the game where you take a shot every time Bruno gets bowled over. Mandy, if we ever play that game, I'd be drunk by the first half. Let us call it there. But yeah, I really love this, what Damiani has brought to this club. And Todd, to your point, you just need the player makers to step up on the biggest stage. I mean, Jillian, you're an Eagles fan like I am. We think Nelson Aguilar, how many bad moments he had as a player, but then Super Bowl, right? Nelson steps up and has a fantastic game. Any thoughts, Jillian, on your end about Bruno's impact tonight and how he's just somehow figured out a way to keep being in the right place at the right time, and he's rewarded for that tonight.
Yeah, I think he kind of gets a lot of crap, kind of like how Mikel Ua gets a lot of crap, but like he's actually doing a lot in there. but it doesn't always show up, as goals,
Mhm.
which is what, of course, fans are looking for, rightfully. I mean, they're strikers, you want that. But yeah, I mean, I think Bruno does a lot in there, but he has come up in big moments. That's really, important to note. So, and sometimes that's just what you need. You need these guys to step up in big moments when it really matters and, get the job done. So, I mean, I think he's been a good pickup in, he's the kind of guy you want on the field when you're looking for that. So,
And I think that people forget too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Chris Donovan's older than Bruno Damiani, isn't he? He's a fairly young
he
player.
is like, you forget how young Bruno is because, like, just how, big and strong he is. Like, it's crazy because what's he, like, 23 or something like that? I
I think
mean,
he's 23, maybe just turned
he's
24.
yeah, he's really young. I mean, you forget about that sometimes. And I will check. He's 23 years old. Yeah, so that is wild. So yeah, I mean, I think he's doing a great job. Yeah, Dono's 25. Yeah, like that's
That's crazy.
yeah. Oh, and quick shout out because I saw Kyle was in the comments there. I don't know if he's still watching because he's at the Las Vegas Lights against Lexington game, and so he's watching that. But he ran into Corey Burke in downtown Las Vegas. Apparently, the Lexington squad is staying at the same hotel as him too, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, so we'll share more about that on our pod probably. But yeah, but back to your point, like now I'm losing the thought there. But yeah, no, like I think Bruno has definitely not reached his ceiling. I mean, so
No.
he's got a lot to learn still, and I think he can be, what they think they were getting when they signed him.
And I think the contract distracts you from his age. I really do think that. I mean, we talk about Indy Vassell, still 24 years old. I think 24, 25, young player. Makanya, Frankie West. We've gone on and on throughout the season how these young players, Andrew Rick, will make mistakes. And we don't seem to give Bruno Damiani that same excuse. And it's probably because of the contract that he has. He doesn't make he makes more money than all those guys probably put together. But he is still such a young player, and we have to expect some growing pains as he develops and as he enters his prime. But one note, I don't know if you guys heard it or not, Michael mentions here, was it just him or was TQL abnormally quiet tonight? Usually it's loud as hell. I didn't notice too much crowd noise from them. I don't know if you guys agree with this statement that it was kind of quiet in Cincinnati.
I mean, they got mad when they didn't get the calls that they wanted, but other than that, I mean, yeah, they weren't really a factor so much. And I've been in that stadium and it is pretty raucous at times when especially when they get a goal. But um yeah. Yeah, I didn't think their crowd was much of a factor.
No, I didn't think so either. So we get the goal 1-0, not that long after Makanya, as we've already alluded to, gets the second yellow, gets a red card, and now Bradley Carnell has to get creative. So the substitutions tonight, let me look at I don't like the way FotMob lists out the substitutions. I'm going to ESPN. I'm sorry, Joe. I know you hate that. The substitutions tonight were Jeremy Raffanello for Milan Lasky, Frankie Westfield for Quinn Sullivan, Michael Uwa for Bruno Damiani, and Indy Vassell for Ty Baribo. Jose, any thoughts on substitutions? Personally, for me, I thought Carnell made the right moves and made the right adjustments, and I think the final score probably reflects that. Your thoughts, Jose?
I think that the yellow cards had a lot to do. Like, I feel I am in line with Todd in thinking, why is your best hold-up player being substituted where he was for Mikel Ua? But obviously, I think obviously it had to do with that yellow card that sort of distracted away from it, because God forbid you go into two players down at TQL against Cincinnati. That would be a nightmare. But I made the comment about Raffanello and the situation, but the reality is, who do you put in? Who do you put in when at that point? And yes, I mentioned depth, but when you get to that point of the depth, you start getting into some very, very difficult territory to find bodies. So glad Raffanello filled the shoes that he needed to fill at the moment, and they were victorious, because otherwise this could have gone one of two ways, right? This goes absolutely well the way it did tonight, and they win, they hold on. Or Carnell has to answer to why the hell did you put him in, and you end up at a draw or a loss had that happen, right? So, like, He looks like a mastermind today.
This is the second person I saw make this comment. I think someone else on Twitter said, I looked gassed in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes he played. Todd, I don't know if you agree with that or not, that I looked almost out of breath in the short time he was on the field.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. Like I said, I mean, he sprinted pretty far to get onto that long ball played by Nathan Harriel, which I think was more of a clearance than meant to be a long ball that worked out that the Union probably should have scored and made it 2-0. So yeah, it's hard for me to say that Mikel looked gassed. Made a couple defensive clearances when it mattered. But when you're down a man and everything, you're just hoping that you can just position yourself well, win your duels, and just get in positions if it's asked of you to make plays. And I think Mikel did that. I mean, the one thing that was concerning was Mikel was losing majority of his aerial duels, which again goes back to the point that Jose and I have said. You bring out a better hold-up striker in Bruno Damiani for Mikel Ur, who's not going to win you a ton of aerial duels, who's not going to hold the ball up for you well as your lone striker. But yeah, I mean, I just don't have too much to say about Mikel Ur's performance. I don't have really anything to complain about in terms of Bradley Cornell's substitutions. I think I think you got it right. I mean, could you have brought a Alejandro Bedoya one for Jeremy Raffanello? Yeah, potentially. Jesus Bueno in for Jeremy Raffanello? Yeah, potentially. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Because the Union found a way to get all 3 points. So can't really nitpick the substitutions, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We mentioned that against Red Bull, right? If Chris Donovan playing the midfield worked, he looks like a mastermind. If it doesn't, which it didn't, he looks like he made a mistake. Lord of Olympia actually adds here, might have expected Bueno as defensive mid, but perhaps his shine has worn off. I think in a game as intense as this, I didn't mind seeing Raffanello over Bueno just because he wanted some calmer heads out there. And we know Jesus kind of reflects a bit of what we saw from Jose Martinez with the very hot rod type of attitude. So I'm not exactly opposed to not seeing Bueno tonight. But again, I think Bradley pulled the right strings. But Michael mentions here, and this is a point I brought up last week as well, or the week prior, where the hell is Ben Bender? Guy shows up for practice, but never the games. Bender seems to be the odd man out. And considering we've praised Tanner throughout the season, Price, and I think Jose, you've mentioned this on Todd's show a few times. Tanner has really hit in these last couple of windows, and he's done a great job. But Ben Bender seems to be the one he missed on. Jillian, considering this team's depth, would you put Bender over anybody we saw in today's lineup? I mean, I guess Cavan would be the odd man out there, but I don't know if I would take Cavan out.
No. Hey, I saw Ben Bender at training yesterday. He exists there, but no. But yeah, I honestly would put Cavan in over Ben at this point. But I think at the time when Bender was brought in, that was when they kind of needed something. And it's like, okay, here's a cheap option, and it's like low risk, so
yeah.
I was fine with that move. And, it's like one of those things, if it doesn't work out, okay, but give the guy a chance. And, good guy, we love to see him get that chance. But, yeah, I don't think that at this point, unless you have an absolute lack of depth for different reasons, if you have injuries or whatever, I don't think you see him getting time. And I think Cavan's shown a little bit more, creation and everything there. And speaking of Cavan, I think we'll probably see him with Union 2 now tomorrow because he didn't get in tonight, which is fine. Union 2 need to win tomorrow.
They desperately do.
And because they play in Cincinnati. Well, technically Northern Kentucky, but it's Cincinnati 2 they're against tomorrow, so that kind of works out. But yeah, so I don't know if we'll see Ben Bender unless it's like, I don't know, if they're missing a bunch of people for some reason, which you hope not to. So
yeah, considering, I mean, McConney will be missing that next match, but you assume that Neil Pierre will be brought into that position, not Bender, in that missing or the next roster spot. Jose, did you know how long Bender signed for?
A year.
Just this current year, right? Okay.
Yeah, this current year. And honestly, I must admit, Todd, I know that's your boy, fishing, potentially buddies, etc. But like
Maryland, what up?
This feels like a Sam Adeniran type of situation here. And it's like, all right, let's take a flyer on someone who might be some sort of depth, see what we get out of them. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. I can't imagine that this is more than just the smallest possible Band-Aid for what the situation was at the time. So we'll see. I mean, he shows up to practice. That's good. I don't know. Maybe there's more to it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Jose and Jillian are right. The whole reason, in my opinion, why Ben Bender was brought in was because you needed depth during the Gold Cup. You didn't have Danley there. You didn't have Quinn Sullivan there. And so you were a little bit thin in the midfield. And Ben was given plenty of opportunities to fill in for Quinn Sullivan when he was away and didn't make the most of those opportunities. And I think, no offense to Ben Bender, local kid, and is praised around the parts here in Maryland where I live. And to see somebody become the number 1 draft pick out of Maryland, go into the University of Maryland, is a big deal. But I do think that the injury that Ben Bender suffered a couple years ago in Charlotte probably does play a little bit of a factor into how he currently is playing. And I think it's hard for me to say, but Bender's probably lucky that he's still in MLS, right? I think there's a real possibility that he's playing USL next season. I think if he wants to stay locally, I think a team like Loudoun United, but even DC United, maybe, right? Maybe he does get another shot in MLS, because DC's god awful, and I'm a little bit surprised to see a player like Sergio Santos not picked up by a DC United yet. He was just waived this past week by Cincinnati because they registered Brenner.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody throws Ben Bender a lifeline in MLS. I mean, that's essentially what the Union did when he was waived by Charlotte. But yeah, I don't read too much into it. I mean, there's just too many better players on this team currently than Ben Bender, and he had opportunities earlier in the season and didn't make the most of them. And, if you have an injury or so, again, or players go away on international duty, which it shouldn't really affect the Union anymore at this point in the season, then that's when Ben Bender is going to get a chance. But yeah, I think he's probably just happy that he's on board with a team and has a chance to win at least one trophy.
Yeah, and even Mike mentioned, or no, here's a comment. Sorry, Mike mentions here, maybe see him for the Vancouver game with the Open Cup match just a couple days away if there is a heavy rotation. I don't know. We'll see. But it definitely seems like Tanner missed on that one, but he served his purpose while he was here, and now the Union depth-wise is certainly improved, and I really just can't see him breaking this roster. But before we end the show, I feel like we would be doing him a disservice if we didn't talk about Andrew Rick. Once again, the young man has stepped up in a big way. We talked about these young players, having a gritty, tough performance. None of the saves he made were easy by any stretch of the imagination. Jose, Andrew Rick, I assume he'll be in for these next couple of matches. We don't have really a status of Andre Blake, but do you finish out the regular season with Rick? I mean, he's again shown how good he really is.
Yeah. Well, Bradley did mention midweek that Andre finally got on the field to do some work this Thursday. I think is when the press conference was, if I recall. So that's where he is. He was officially left out of the Jamaica international matches in this coming window. So that gives you an idea where he may be. And I guess that's as much as we can really comment on Blake, or at least that I can comment on Blake and want to comment on Blake. But Andrew Rick wise, if I'm a Bruno Damiani stan, I'm probably pretty close with Andrew Rick in terms of how much I talk about the guy, right? Because incredible player. And honestly, anyone who thinks that he just turned into this great player this year is out of their mind, if not completely uninformed. It's such a stupid take. He's developed so quickly last year. And yes, last year was a bit of a shit show team-wise, but if you watch some of the bright points of last year, Andrew Rick was probably one of the biggest ones, right? Earning all of the short-term contracts, which I think was more of a let's hold off as long as we can to figure out what we do with him, and ultimately deserve that contract that he ended up getting anyways. And by the way, he makes less money than George Marks was when he left Charlotte or when he was waived by a cool hundred and I guess like $10,000 or so, maybe a little bit over, if I recall. I think it's 104 versus 90 something $1,000 that Rick makes. But Andrew didn't suddenly become this great player this year. He's continued to grow. He was great last year. It's just that he was in an unfortunate situation, being bounced about between Blake injury and going an international break and an international break for Andrew Rick himself, etc. He just couldn't get any consistency. Never mind Jim flip-flopping between Oliver and Rick and Oliver, Rick, etc. So again, anybody who thinks that Andrew was a revelation in 2025 is just out of their mind. This is somebody who has been developing from last year. Like I don't understand that take. So I'm just happy that Andrew's getting his shot. And I do think that he is the future of this club. Like Andre, for as great as he's been over the years and as the many accolades he's racked up and earned, like I don't know that he is reliable enough anymore. Much better this year for sure, but the reality is that Andrew is 19 and he's doing so well, so well. So it is what it is. I don't know. I'm in my soapbox about the guy. He does great.
Ty, any thoughts on Mr. Rick as he had played another great performance tonight?
Nah, Jose stole everything I wanted to say.
Way to go, Jose. God damn it. I will ask Jillian real quick, though. I know one of the players you follow close with Union 2, he gets loaned out, LaFleur. Any concern or about with LaFleur leaving and obviously lack of depth maybe behind Kai Wagner?
Well, I mean, about the lack of depth behind Kai, Frankie played left back at Union 2 like all last season. So, I mean, Frankie can easily play left back. We know Nate can, there's options there. And, I think it was important, honestly, for Isaiah to get loaned out because he was doing a good job with Union 2, but he also, he needs a little bit more, higher level competition, which is why like CJ only got loaned out, which, I don't know if that's working out at Lexington so much, but, it's just, I think that'll be good for him. It's going to be closer to home for him too. So added bonus there, but,
Cool.
I think and it'll be a chance for him to get a higher level play. And then the Union can see a little bit more of what they could get from him maybe, and, see if they want to bring him back or not. Again, good guy that I hope, just balls out there. And so, yeah, he actually, by the way, he was on the bench tonight for Detroit City, and he came in in like the 73rd minute. He managed to get a yellow card in stoppage time then, but yeah, so wow.
Funny video, by the way.
I don't know what happened. I see a gazillion. Did they have like a fight at the end? Because there's like a gazillion yellow cards at the end. I'm looking at their timeline.
I posted the video. It's pretty funny. It's stupid. It's kind of dumb, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Isaiah's great though. So I mean, I hope he does well, and it'd be great if he does find a place with the Union, to come back, because I think for him, when he told me about just how it was coming back from that ACL injury, and like when he scored his goal for Union 2 and just how much that meant, and it was tough, like for him doing that, coming back from that. So this season was just him getting back in form after being off for that year. So I hope he does well, and I hope he does find his way back, or at least is able to further his career.
It just shows the reliability of Kai Wagner for one. That the Union trusts that he will be in that left back spot time after time after time, year after year. We saw with Matt Real getting shipped off to Colorado. We see now with LaFleur. And also Carnell has the versatility options with Nate, as you mentioned, Frankie rather, etc. So, but yeah, I wanted to touch on LaFleur. We didn't talk about him much amongst ourselves on Twitter and whatnot. Derek, to your question, how many clean sheets does Rick have on FOTMob? It says 6 in 2025. He has 13 matches under his belt with 6 clean sheets. So, Rick's again stepped up. So Philadelphia Union pull off a 1-0 win against Cincinnati. Very hard-fought game. They now have I believe, 2 weeks off. The next match is on, I want to say, September 13th in Vancouver at 9:30 p.m. And 3 days later, they'll have the Open Cup match against Nashville in Nashville. Nashville, by the way, just lost to Atlanta. I saw people commenting up there about that loss. Todd, I'll go to you first for your final thought. You want to plug anything for your show? Are you guys recording tomorrow?
Yeah, sometime tomorrow. To be determined on the time. But yeah, I mean, huge 3 points for the Union. There's a special team, and hopefully they win at least one piece of silverware this year. I mean, this seems too talented to not win something, and whether it be the U.S. Open Cup, whether it be the Supporters Shield, whether it be MLS Cup, I think, talking with Jose, he says, yeah, either the U.S. Open Cup or the MLS Cup. I think the listeners would say the same thing, but you got to win something. This team's just way too talented, and we all know that there's going to be changes in the summertime. I'm sure we'll see a lot of departures. We'll see a lot of new players in, and yeah, hopefully this group can win something this year with each other. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod wherever you get your podcasts of the Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod, where we're live every single podcast. Also do the goals breakdown video, which seems like it's going to be more defensive highlights this week than it is goals. But yeah, we'll get that out at some point. It is nice to have a 3-day weekend, so that should be fun. Give me time to not try to rush everything out on Sunday night. Then you guys can check out my writing on thefreekick.substack.com, where I also post a podcast and the goals breakdown video. But Mike, glad to be the first one to join you tonight. I was watching after the Cornell press conference, and I was like, oh no, Mike's by himself. He needs some help. And glad to be the first, Mike.
Listen, Todd, I hyped up your goal breakdown video, so no pressure on this week's goal. But yeah, listen, Todd, thanks for joining me tonight. Always glad to have you on. Jillian, I'll go to you next. I fixed your Twitter handle, by the way, on here, Jillian. Silly _Jilly on Twitter. But same thing, I asked Todd, plug away. Any final thoughts here for you?
Thanks. Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at silly _Jilly. I'm at TOTWAG on Twitter and Blue Sky as well. And the one team we agree on.com. We have our articles on there. I'll be covering Union 2's match tomorrow as well, just not from there, obviously, but at home. And while Kyle's in Vegas, I'm just kind of holding it down. And I think we probably won't have a podcast out this week because he's going to be away. He's going to be in Reno for a week. But in busy week, my brother's getting married next weekend, so that's exciting. Yeah, so we're actually we did this the last away match for Union 2. I think we're gonna do a live Twitter space following the Union 2 match tomorrow. So cool. I'll put info about that tomorrow. But if anyone wants to join and talk U2 with us tomorrow, hopefully it'll be a win because they need it badly.
Yeah.
But I have a preview article out for that. Was talking to Ryan Richter yesterday. Lots of good stuff.
Awesome.
So yeah, I was able to get down to training probably one last time since I'm back to work now. So, but yeah, so lots of good stuff from Ryan Richter there. If anyone wants to check it out.
That's awesome. Yeah, you, Kyle, and yourself, you guys do great work with Union 2. Really great coverage. So we'll definitely be looking for that. Jose, last but not least, sir, anything coming up from you? Any interviews? I know your interview with, I don't remember the guy's name, about George Marks right now. Fantastic stuff.
Oh, yeah, Dylan Lane. He nailed it, right? Because as soon as he was asked, as soon as Cornell was asked about, Jillian actually was the one who asked about George Marks during the press conference. Word for word what Dylan said. So like, yeah, Dylan knows the guy, and they obviously texted ahead of the recording, and he's like, yeah, I spoke to Dylan ahead, or whatever. They spoke ahead of the time we connected. But I got nothing to promote hopping in different podcasts and different things here in the coming weeks. And it's kind of nice to get this international break, meaning that the Union players are not missing league games. Everybody, international break. It's being observed like it's church. So not going to miss anything. Just get some relaxing time, and doesn't mean that we get to relax, right? Because we'll be tracking all these players, what they're doing. Israel, Haiti, the U.S., 50 people that are going everywhere here with the union and different age groups. So more to come, I'm sure. But for now, I am just happy to be able to hop on tonight. So much fun. Again, like I think this is a pretty likely preview of an Eastern Conference final. I think should things play out that way, it was, and they were able to pull it off with a man down, 30 plus minutes or so of just fighting. Like this was good. This was a very good win, up there, probably the best one of the year, honestly.
You mentioned the playoffs and the final, like, who could be projected in the Eastern Conference. Cincinnati, I think Todd mentioned earlier, has really been struggling at home lately. It's just their third consecutive 1-0 loss at home. They lost to Charlotte and New York City as well over the past couple of matches. Nashville lost tonight, but Charlotte has quietly crept up to the third spot in the Eastern Conference. So we might be seeing Charlotte in the Eastern Conference final. Who knows? And as Philly Rovers mentioned, Gillingham won today as well. They're top of the league out in League Two. So good stuff. Listen, everybody, thanks for joining me in the comments. It was chaotic. You guys are really hyped up tonight. I love to see. I appreciate you following our work, following the show. Like I said, I missed the show last week because I was at Chevelle. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there for the Union's what was it, the 1-0 loss against the Red Bulls. But we're back tonight. I'll be back again on September 13th, a Saturday night for Vancouver match. We'll be up late that night. But thank you all for joining us again. Union 1-0 victory, first place Eastern Conference, and first place in the Supporters Shield standings. Go Union. Have a good night, everybody.